And welcome everyone to another episode of Inside CKP. I am your host, Jeremy Como. That is enough about me. We're here to see these two people. And
you don't need to know anymore.
And that's it. No, you see the names. We're done. No,
that's all you got.
we got Shady,
good show, guys.
David Shadoin and Kacey Ezell with us, both amazing science fiction and fantasy authors, and we're going to be talking about their latest release. I was pointing the wrong way. Companions to Ghosts, amongst other things. Yeah. And so before we get started, ladies first. Kacey, tell people where they can harass you online, maybe in person, all that good stuff.
Don't harass me ever. It won't work out well for you. But you can find me online. You can find me online at www.kaceyezell.net or .com. Either one works. And person, my next appearance will be at LibertyCon in Chattanooga, Tennessee on June 20th through the 24th. Yeah. We're like in June, guys. And so just coming up in a couple of weeks, I will be in Chattanooga. Very excited to see everybody there. After that, I think that's it until DragonCon. Yeah. So.
All right. Shady.
Mostly you can find me hanging around the interwebs, skulking somewhere.
Creepily.
Yeah, you can check out davidshadoin.com, and that'll hit you up with all my links, my social media platforms, everywhere that I'm appearing, such as like this YouTube link to come watch this. I'll be at LibertyCon next as well. Pretending to be pretty and trying to sell our book.
Yeah.
Let's see that. Can you do the like YouTube post? That's awesome. Well done.
I watch too much internet content.
I mean, bro.
But yeah. So I think the remainder of my appearances are LibertyCon, DragonCon, and that's all I've got planned so far.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. Thank you all for coming out. Now, if you'll notice, I have a book cover here, and this is their latest co-authored book that they've come out with. It's a Four Horsemen Universe book, Companions to Ghosts. It came out 2 weeks ago?
Beginning of May 10th. Yeah.
May 10th.
Okay.
3 weeks ago.
Yes. Almost a month ago.
Almost a month.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to talk about it. And so the Four Horsemen universe is humongous.
Mm-hmm.
Can people just jump into this book, or do they have to kind of get a lead into it from some other books?
So I'll go ahead and take this one. Yes, the Four Horsemen universe is huge. And I've been involved with the Four Horsemen universe from the beginning.
That's what she said.
Yes. And it's this, the short answer is no, you do not have to read all 96 books of the rest of the series in order to enjoy Companion to Ghosts. You should enjoy reading all 96 books just because they're amazing and you will enjoy them. You will love them. But Companion to Ghosts is in fact a standalone novel, although it does have, like many of the standalone novels that are featured within the Four Horsemen universe, it does have tie-ins with other books, other storylines, things that you can almost think of them as like Easter eggs that fans of the series who have read all 96 books will kind of get and enjoy and really, I think it's 96. It might be more now, but yes, you could also pick this up totally cold and read it and love it and get a really good sense of at least this corner of what the Four Horsemen universe is, which is honestly one of my favorite things about writing in the Four Horsemen universe, being a core author, is that it is a sandbox. And there's so much there to be explored and enjoyed. And, so many stories to tell, so many legends to develop, so many characters to to really dive into and get to know and stuff. So, so I really cannot say how much fun I had developing this particular storyline with Shady. So sorry, I'm all over the place, you guys. You're welcome.
No. We encourage tangents.
Yeah. This is your wife's fault, by the way, because I had such a good day hanging out with Marisa that now I'm like, woo, giddy, let's be crazy on the internet.
Yeah, playing with balls. I know.
Mm-hmm. That's a secret.
Oh, sorry. All right. Infer what you will. So now the cover, it's almost like the cover is like a noir. It seems like it's almost like a contemporary looking street view, and it's kind of noir, which is no shock that Case is involved with something noir. We'll talk about that later. But where kind of describe the cover and why we're seeing what we're seeing. And
you want to take this one, Shady?
Sure. So it's funny because she's having me take this, but this cover is kind of based off of some art that she generated when we first came up with the concept. And we took a character out of Ally, a very side character that didn't even have a name. And we created this story, and Kacey kind of had come to talk to me about it. And she goes, "Hey, let's write this story. What do you think about, writing a noir story?" Or even I think we actually started with buddy cop and then shifted to noir.
Yeah.
And then we took a little bit of John Wick because I was in a John Wick mood at the time, and we sprinkled that on top. And what we came out with was this book, but we had based it, this cover is very close and very similar to this AI Midjourney, right? Midjourney image.
Yes. Right. So one of the things that I'll do as part of my creative process is I will generate like mood images or visualizations of characters and of locations, just to kind of help me encapsulate in my head what they look like. And it's sort of like a free form playing with images type exercise. And I'd come up with one that had, it had the car, it was black and white, it had the cat. And I remember forwarding it over to Shady and saying, "This is our mood. This is what we're going for." So,
in fact, one of the edits I got on one of the scenes, it's I think the first bar scene. For those of you who read the story, you'll enjoy this little tidbit. But for those of you who haven't, there's a bar. Thanks. Spoiler alert.
You're welcome.
We visited a few times.
Yeah. And it doesn't enjoy that we visited it a few times either. But part of one of the edits I got back from her was I kind of described it a little bit. And she's like, "I am in such a huge noir mood right now. I need you to change it to something like this." And so we literally just took like a Dick Tracy feel and painted it over top of that whole paragraph description.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's definitely a different story for the Four Horsemen universe, because I don't think we have any super noir type stories for the universe. But I'm sure I'm missing something. But
so this is one of the things that I love so much about the story. Okay, so the you guys mind if I give a quick rundown of the premise of the story for someone?
Oh, please! That was going to be my next
watching question. who haven't read it yet. Yeah. So basically, like, the main character is this guy Devlin Morrison, and he is an ex-merc who had a couple of who used to specialize in personal protection, and he had a couple of failed missions that still haunt him to this day. Thus, ghosts, right? And so he's working as a high-end taxi driver in Houston. And one day he picks up a client, and that client happens to be a Depic on assignment, a hunter on assignment by the name of Skakun. And the two of them start working together. And in working together, they really explore what each of them is missing in their current worldview, current situation. And so we get to see their relationship develop into that of a true companion relationship, like we've seen in some of the other companions novels, and in Ally. And it was really, I mean, if you've ever read my books, you know that I'm really into exploring like interpersonal character dynamics and how relationships build and change and flow throughout the course of all these dramatic events that make up the story. And so that's what Shady and I really focused on with this particular book, because we wanted to see what happens when you have two characters who are, if not broken, damn close. How do you what happens when you put them together and give them the courage to make each other whole again. And this is our answer. This companion to Ghost right there. But because it we deal with some really dark themes. Shady's got it up there too. I love that metal print, by the way. It's
Thank you, H.Y. Gregor, Haley.
You're gonna have to describe it.
Yeah, it's the cover art, but
it's actually the full book wrap, and she put it on a metal plate. Sent it to me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, good job.
Yeah. She gets girlfriend points for that one.
That's cool.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so it's a dark story. It's a dark theme. That's not new to the Four Horsemen universe. Fans of the universe know that darkness is something we talk about all the time in the Four Horsemen universe. However, I think that this might be the first time that we've specifically approached it with an eye towards the noir aesthetic, the sort of noir tropes, and really kind of looked at it from what does it look like from the underbelly in that very specific lens of noir tale, right? So,
and a little bit too of what it means. Like and we've passed the 10-minute mark, so I can use my line from Fantasy. We really fucked Devlin up.
There we go.
Yeah.
I know I've got it.
There you go. I need to hit Joy up and get my own F-bomb.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah. Joy Wandry.
Joy Wandry, definitely hit her up. She's got some great creations.
Yeah.
But the thing, like, I really like we started out, like we said, thinking that it was kind of going to be a buddy cop. We started writing it, and I had the task of figuring out what was really going to screw with Devlin, what was going to make him have to fight to not only like maintain his own humanity, but to actually like try and have good triumph over evil. And every noir story is based around the fact that you are staring at evil all around, right? You were staring at terrible choices all around, and you still have to somehow choose good, no matter how much it hurts. And that's one of the things that we did with him and with Scott Kuhn, and that I feel like we captured that aesthetic well. And one of the other things that I've constantly told Chris, but other audiences, is that I'm masquerading as a Mill Sci-Fi author. I have yet to actually write a Mill Sci-Fi story for Chris Kennedy. I have written mystery, thriller, I've written business intrigue, I have written noir, buddy cop. I have yet to actually write a pure Mill Sci-Fi story.
You've written fantasy.
I've written fantasy once.
Yeah.
We did a little bit of high fantasy, Casey and I. And
speaking of, just a few covers.
Yeah.
So go check these out if you want to read some of the stories. And somebody else has been a busy little bee lately.
Yeah.
And is putting out an entire series called The Queen. Well, no, it's not The Queen's Fixers. That's the first book. That's the
first book.
So
this is the Ashes of Entesia series. This is the first completed trilogy within the larger series. I love the Four Horsemen universe so much that I'm imitating it, right? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, in that I'm building a large universe. The intent is to build a large universe for Ashes of Entesia. And the first book is The Queen's Fixer. I just got these in today. These are the like case bound hardcovers. Aren't they cool? If you are going to be at LibertyCon, I will have a few of these available for sale. They are special edition, and they will only be available as the trilogy. So if you're going to be at LibertyCon, hit me up. But I got you. But yeah, that's it was very funny because this has been in the works for a while, and then Shady and I were also working on Companion to Ghosts for a while. So our backstory together as writing partners is we actually met 2019, I guess, is when we met, because that's when I first showed up in Japan.
If you go watch Peer Pressure Made Us Do It.
Oh yeah.
We met in 2014.
That's right. I forgot about that. I don't remember actually when we met. Apparently I gave him shit about his flying. So yeah, Shady is a fellow Huey pilot. We flew together in Japan, became good friends there. And then I gave him a homework assignment and made him become a writer.
Which is the whole theme of the episode that he's talking about.
Yeah,
He pushes all of her friends into writing. Not
all of them, just the ones that I think it'll be good for. But we had talked about, we'd written several stories together. We'd talked about wanting to do a novel together. And then finally, before I left Japan in 2022, we sat down and we're like, all right, if we're going to do this, let's do this. Let's plot this out. And so we plotted out the basics of what became Companion to Ghosts. And then Shady did the majority of the work on it, honestly. Because I was, busy retiring and moving to the States and getting a new job and all that kind of stuff. So, and writing this other series, right? And so we've got the whole series planned. This series plans to launch this spring, which the third book just came out. And then, when was it, like in December? I get this email and it's like, 90% of the manuscript for Companion to Ghosts, some of which I'd already seen because I'd already written some of it. But he's like, here you go. And I was like, holy shit, you did it. Like, you're done. That's awesome. So we went back and forth with edits a couple of times. And I think I filled in a couple more scenes that you wanted specifically from my point of view. And then we submitted it and Chris was like, this is out of nowhere, but I love it, So it's like it's like the fourth book in my summer of releases. So
y'all been working on that for a while now.
Yeah.
I think we initially plotted it in 22. So
okay.
Yeah, we plotted it in early spring, late winter, so January, February timeframe of 22 while we were in Japan.
Yeah.
We had some talks about, because we knew we were going to co-write together. We didn't know what we were going to do first.
Right.
And so that was the first project that we were going to do. And we'll get into, we could tease at the other project later if we want to, but the timeline on that is still a little further out there because we're both, she's busy doing a lot of stuff. I've got some other stuff going on too. But because
my secret is out, people have realized that you're awesome to write with and you're an awesome writer. And now more people want a piece of you. I no longer have exclusive access.
Fair. That's not a bad problem for me to have.
No, it isn't. So,
but yeah, so we had started plotting this in January of 22. We both moved. So I had written, I think, the first 6,000 words, and then nothing for like 5 months. And so it was, we were both getting settled in. We were both trying to find things to do. Yeah. And Oz is now, speaking of which, so Oz is one of the people I'm working with now. But so I took about a 5-month break, and then I finally finished essentially the first third, Act 1, or my parts of the first third, and I sent it to Kacey fall of spring of 23. And then I spent the whole summer just like trying real hard to get Act 2 done. And then somewhere in like the November timeframe, it just clicked for me. And and I'm going to counter a little bit of what Kacey said. I didn't send her the full manuscript till February. That's because in December we got together for Christmas and we changed the ending to the book.
We did. That's right. We did.
Or it wasn't. I mean, it was after Christmas, but like we went up for New Year's and changed the ending of the book, and so I wrote the last third essentially, or rewrote a little bit of it, because we talked it over. I told her where I was stuck. I told her some certain pieces, and I was like, we had originally built this arc a different way, but it's not quite hitting like I thought it would.
Yeah.
And so she goes, hey, what if we do this? And so then that, like, for whatever reason, sparked a fire, and I got it done in January and then sent it to her at the beginning of February. We passed the edits back and forth between February and March as she finished up the scenes that I needed from her point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. And then the real fun part came is we turned it into Chris beginning of April. Like, we both done major edit passes, and we're like, all right, this is as good as we're going to get it, because our eyes are bleeding looking at this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we passed it over to Chris, and we're like, it's probably not going to come out till like July, maybe August.
Yeah.
You know,
we were fingers crossed, like, please let it be out by LibertyCon, which is,
Yes.
you know, in 2 weeks from now. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to Chuck Gannon on this one, because he and I talked to Superstars, and he's like, you know what you should do? Try and get it out by Liberty, because that's your next major appearance. And I had already gotten my rejection letter for DragonCon, so I'm only there as a guest. Like, I'm only there to have fun. But I'm paneling at Liberty. And so he's like, yeah, you need to try and have it out by Liberty. And that kind of sparked a bit of a fire. And then when we finally got it done, I was like, it might not work out. Well, Chris did two things. He surprised us with a May 10th release date. Right. And then turn around and surprise us with cover art at Fantasy, which is real cool of it.
It was very cool. Yeah.
It's great cover art too.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Gorgeous. It is a bit of a departure from like the typical Four Horsemen cover, but again, I kind of love that, because the story is a little bit of a departure too. You know?
Yeah, in a good way.
But it still has those consistent elements. I mean, you still got the Casper, you still got the, you know, the title font and the treatment, but you also have, and the Depic shadow, right? The shadow of the hunter, which has been the case through every novel that has been focused on the Depic, I love it. I love the play of dark and light with it, you know, that's so emblematic of the noir genre. So much a part of our story, right? Of that interplay between what's dark, what's light. How do you keep them separate? Do you keep them separate? Is it do you lose your humanity when you access your dark side as a human being, or as a hunter, you know, those kinds of things. All those really deep questions.
Okay. Tangent. I'm going on a tangent. Just one.
Yeah, do it.
So
many balls.
So many balls. Secret balls.
Secret balls. Secret balls that I'll get to play with.
Oh my God, we are gonna have so many questions. Yes, Marisa is in fact amazeballs to hang out with. I can confirm on that one. Confirm.
Oh, and this one, I want to go back to this. One of Charlie's favorite lines. This is a good line.
It is a good line.
Can y'all talk about it, or is that giving away too much?
I'm gonna thank Easy, Kacey's husband, wonderful husband, for that line. Now, granted, I know he got it from Rick and Morty.
He got it from Rick and Morty. Yeah, he's a big fan of Rick and Morty.
But every time we wanted to go do something in Japan, Easy was always like, "You son of a bitch, I'm in."
Yep.
That's good. All right. Well,
that's what he said. Never mind.
Well, it's not.
You have to declare it. It's not a good thing.
Yeah. So we're all adults here.
No, I'm talking about earlier in the process where it's like, hey.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Right,
sorry,
so,
Jeremy, I didn't mean to break your brain.
No, I'm still stuck on balls.
Let's see.
So Yeah, you did break my brain. Hold on. So we talked about what about the title? Where does the title "Companion to Ghost" come from?
Oh,
So,
go ahead.
you know, and Casey will definitely back me up on this one because this is kind of a little bit of both of us. The original, here's more peeks behind the curtains. The original working title that we were under was "Lurking in the Shadows," and then Casey Moore's published "Companion to Darkness," and then Melissa Olthoff beat us out. Started like a year after we did, and beat us to the punch and published "Companion in Chains." Both of them are awesome books. And speaking of Easter eggs, there are some Easter eggs, for those in there. And Casey and I talked about it, and we're like, well, we can't really, it's a companion novel. We can't break the series chain.
Yeah.
So we were talking about it, and it was, kind of like she mentioned earlier, the ghost piece comes from the fact that both of them are haunted by their past, haunted by ghosts. Sometimes more literally than figuratively. But
yeah,
there is and so it was like, all right, well, this is real easy. We don't really have to think about this too hard. If we got to keep the companion piece up, it's companion to ghosts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure. It was, so after Marisa and I finished the first Depic trilogy of Assassin, Hunter, Ally, those had a title convention of just the one word, basically the one word descriptor for who are the Depic. They start off as assassin, then they, and then, I mean, it's not that they become Hunter, but you learn assassin, Hunter, and then ally, right? And we knew that we wanted to expand and invite more people to write more developed stories about the Depic and the companions that they choose and that they bond with after the events of our initial trilogy. Sorry if there's spoilers. The book's been out for 3 years. You'll get over it. And so
sorry, not sorry.
Right. So when Casey Moore's wrote his Companion to Darkness, was it was such a perfect title for that particular piece, and it flowed well, and Melissa followed suit, and I was like, well, we didn't intend this, but we have a tradition of title conventions within this series within the larger Four Horsemen series. So fuck it, we're sticking with it. So if you want to do a companion novel, come up with a companion title. That's now a requirement.
Yeah, no, it's good, and a good call out to the other books. If you haven't read those, go check them out.
Yeah, for sure. They're so good.
So with that being said, can we expect some more companion novels featuring Depic in the future?
Yes.
Please and
yes,
thank you.
You will. Yes, absolutely. We will write as many companion novels as the people, the internets have appetite for. What I cannot tell you is when they will be out, nor can I tell you who all will be writing them, because again, it's kind of up to you. So, we'll see.
Yeah.
The royal you, not me.
Yes.
No, it's you, Jeremy. You choose.
You particularly, Jeremy.
If you want to write a companion novel, get in touch with Jeremy.
We're waiting on your choices.
That's right. That's right. Submit your ideas to Jeremy.
It's like, if that's true, then we're all screwed. Anyway, so speaking of, so we've talked about the book. So you've kind of already done this, but what's your elevator pitch for this book? If you're you're trying to get somebody, it's, hey, I really want you to read this book. How you gonna snag them into reading the book?
If John Wick partnered with a cat assassin to run the plot of LA Confidential, that's the book that we have.
Oh, that's good. I like all those.
Yeah.
LA Confidential is a bit of a deep cut for some people, I realized. But it was probably one of the best noir buddy cop stories that I've seen in the last 3 decades for sure. So, but yeah, Kacey.
And it really, so again, peek behind the curtain. Fun fact. I showed Shady LA Confidential this, over the holidays when he came out to visit my family over the New Year and everything. And
to be fair, I'd seen it before. It had been a while.
Right. But I was like, let's watch this movie together. And I want to say that it was after we had watched that movie that we sort of had that epiphany about like, oh shit, I know how to end this. Like, and that, I mean, it's not directly taken from the movie, but it's definitely inspired a lot by the feel and the twists and the just the sort of course of that intricate story. So.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier, you Dick Tracy'd it a little bit. I mean, is it like like the comic book? You got wacky characters, or how, or is it just the noir aspect?
It's painting that just the right light over top of shifting from the day life to the night life.
So it's like the Dick Tracy, the comic.
The comic, yeah.
Yeah.
But and that was where we, I had originally written it was a decent description, but didn't quite do it justice. And so Kacey offered me up a couple of like, hey, what if we did this? And so then I took that and ran with it just a little bit further and sent it back to her. And I said, how does this sound? And she goes, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the great thing about co-writing is you got somebody to bounce stuff off on, and you can get inspired as well if you enjoy co-writing with that person and you work well together, of course. But you bounce stuff off of each other, and you can get inspiration and all that, which is awesome.
Yeah, and it's really fun. It's for me, it's really fun to because I do a lot of co-writing, right? It's really fun for me to. Every collaboration is different. Every project, even within a collaboration, is different. But it's really fun for me to see how different people work and what different creative processes are like, because it lets me sort of like, oh, well, maybe I could try this, or, oh, I could take a little bit from here. I could take a little bit from there. So, and I learn something every time, every time you level up with every book you write, but I feel like sometimes in certain ways, I level up even more when I'm writing with a co-author, because I'm also exposed to the lessons that they are learning, if that makes sense. So.
And Kacey taught me a lot of lessons. So there was a lot of learning.
Are we talking about in the helicopter or in the
Take your pick.
He's like, yes.
Yes. Well, and you talk about kind of a little bit of the stylistic learning. We talk about John Wick. It was funny because I hadn't really thought about how much it was influencing how I was writing some of the scenes until Kacey mentioned it to me. And then she goes, yeah, you're doing it like this. And I was like, oh, that's fair. And then I read one of her scenes, and Nick Severson will love this. One of her scenes is very Deadpool. Oh, yeah. And then I was like, oh, now we have to mirror that. I gotta get the mirror in. So I did one after that does kind of a very similar thing. And and if you've read the book, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to spoil it. If you haven't read the book, there are two scenes that are kind of like our homage to Deadpool a little bit, but also a little bit of, this is how we John Wicked our fight scenes.
Right. Well, and then the other thing, yeah, absolutely. And then the other thing too is that, like, especially in a dark story, that deals with really heavy themes. I mean, like I don't know that we've ever put a content warning in front of a book before, and I think there's actually. No, we didn't put it in.
No, we have two of them. There has never been a content warning in front of a book before. I did double check.
I mean, in the Four Horsemen Universe specifically, right?
Yeah.
But we deal with some really heavy stuff, and such that Chris, our publisher, was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is legitimate. That maybe we want to just give people a heads up that this is what's going on. And a couple of our reviewers actually remarked on that like, we're talking about PTSD, and we're not sugarcoating it. we're talking about human trafficking, and we're not sugarcoating it. Like, this shit is real, and it is raw, and it is hard. And in a book like that, we had to find a way of injecting some lightness, some levity, some humor, but in doing so in a way that didn't make it ridiculous and was still respectful of the original, of the weight of the material that we were talking about, and that did so in a way that was that didn't diminish the importance of what we were talking about. And I think we worked, well, I know I worked very hard at doing that. And I know Shady worked very hard at doing that, because we had multiple conversations about, look, we have to make sure that we're doing this in this way, because we don't want it to detract from the overall, the weight of what we're talking about, the message of what we're talking about. And those scenes, those Deadpool-esque scenes, those gun fu scenes, were part of the way that we did that, because we wanted to engage that part of the brain that understands that, like, it's over the top. It's over the top for a reason. It's cinematic. It's cinematic for a reason, because it can't all be heavy all the time. Otherwise, it's not going to be enjoyable. And at the end of the day, even with a dark story, even with a heavy story, the whole point is to entertain,
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, so it's kind of like the way Deadpool, gallows humor kind of about a situation. Okay.
Yeah.
No breaking the fourth wall or anything like that.
Not really breaking the fourth wall, but definitely the gallows humor. I mean, Shady's still active duty. I'm retired military officer. Both of us are helicopter pilots. It is legendary that helicopter pilots have, utilize dark humor as a coping mechanism. And I say it all the time. Dark humor is a valid coping mechanism. And that's where we went with this one over and over again.
I was explaining to somebody the other day, and I'll throw this out there. The helicopter we fly has something called the Jesus nut, right? If that thing is gone, you're going to see Jesus. That's it. That's all it's going to do, unless you get extremely lucky, And so,
unless it fails while you're on the ground.
Yeah, unless it fails while you're on the ground.
Even so, it's iffy, because you're probably going to roll over. So, yeah.
Or get hit by the blade as it passes.
Or get hit by the blades. That's right.
But
that's right.
But that's the thing is that we do have that gallows humor ish, and so I think so far from what we saw, a lot of the people who deal with some of the issues have appreciated how we approached it. Yeah. I'm not going to say that it's going to be for everybody, right? And that's why we put the content warning in front. But I think we put together one of the best efforts we could have put when it comes to dealing with both of those deep, heavy issues. And we gave it the respect that it deserved. And I had, and I can't speak for Kacey, but I'm pretty sure I know the answer. I didn't have to dig too deep, but I had to go to some very dark places to write some of this book.
Yeah. Same for sure. So,
all right. So it's not all fun and games. Y'all put some sweat and tears into it too.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it came out better for it, right? Like, I'm so proud of this book. And I'm so proud of this book, but I'm so proud of Shady because like I said, the majority of the text is actually his text. And it's a fantastic first novel. It's a fantastic novel, but for this to be his first novel is pretty damn great. So.
One of the things I told Chris on a separate podcast I'll plug later, but I was real lucky to have Kacey as a co-writer, partially because she has edited she has taken a look at it and edited most of the things that I've published recently, and so it was real beneficial to me as a writer in general. I got to kind of cheat my way, right? Like, I had a cheat code where I got to skip a couple levels, because I had her bleeding on my script before I'd even turned it in. And so I got to learn a lot faster than some people will. but at the same time, I really appreciate having that opportunity, and it's a good thing, and I think it shines through this book a little bit. If you'd read any of my short stories prior to this, and you'd put the picture up previously of some of the anthologies that both of us are in, you will see that this is that this is probably the culmination of work between those 5 anthos. So
yeah, like I said, you level up with every book you write, you know. So
well, and I don't care what you do, mentorship. If it's worth doing, mentorship is important, I think.
yeah.
And I don't think it happens enough in most career paths or anything like that. It happens a fair amount in book writing and things like that, if done well. And I think CKP has a pretty good track record of mentorship. So
it happens a lot in the CKP community. I will say that there are a couple of sort of pockets, I think, within the publishing world where, active mentorship of the kind that Chris encourages, where it's like, hey, you're an experienced writer, you're a new writer, why don't you guys give me something together, is a big part of what we do in CKP. Bain also does something similar with pairing really, really experienced writers with, amazing new voices like Marisa Wolf. And so there are such huge benefits that come from that. But overall, I don't know that it's that widespread within the publishing community, which is one of the reasons why I'm so grateful to be a part of this part of the publishing community, because I've benefited from mentorship relationships. I mean, the whole reason why I'm known for Noir is because I was able to collaborate with Larry Correia and publish 3 Noir anthologies, and sort of indulge that passion of mine of digging into, the crossover, and the mashups between Noir and science fiction and fantasy.
Damn good anthologies too.
Oh, thank you so much. And I love them, man. They're like that learning experience of being able to work with Larry, of having Larry edit my stories, of having Larry edit stories that I had already edited. So our process was I would get the stories, I would do my edit pass on them, and then I would send them to Larry for any of his comments. So he would see what I was telling the other writers, about their stories. And like, that supercharged me as far as both a writer and an editor, because he brought up things that I never would have thought about, things like, well, when you're writing, when this becomes an audiobook, this thing that you're doing that might be okay in print is going to sound weird in audio, and which is a thing that Larry knows because he's huge in audio. So that, that example of that type of passing along experience is just one way in which we really do benefit from these mentorship relationships. And I'm honored and I'm grateful that I'm able to do that, for Shady. And mostly I just like hanging out with my friends and telling stories with my friends and sharing imaginary friends with my friends. And if you want to call it mentorship, then hey man, I'm all in, whatever.
And Oz agrees. CKP is great at developing authors.
Yeah.
So a call back to some comments you made earlier, Shady, where you said you've written everything but military sci-fi for CKP so far. So since you've written in so many different genre fluid, as they say, what is your favorite thing to write? Is it what is it subject, character, what?
I am a huge character thriller fan. Anywhere that you can get excellent character development inside of a thriller, that's where like my like, and I didn't know I was going to write that, right? Because so another peek behind the curtain and a little bit of a spoiler if you haven't seen Peer Pressure Made Us Do It. I was a big fantasy fan. I was a big urban fantasy fan prior to becoming a writer. I never thought I would get into thriller writing, but I always enjoyed reading it. And then the first story that Kacey wrote me into was writing essentially a backstory to a different character in the Depic series that is, and Roanoke makes his appearance in several books, and including ours, because we'd be remiss if we didn't include him.
Yeah.
So then I wrote a business intrigue, which was slightly business intrigue is essentially just another name for thriller. But the difference is that the stakes are very much not life or death, and you kind of know it going into that. But then I wrote when Chris recommended me to Jamie Ibsen for We Dare, I ended up writing another thriller story under the Mill Sci-Fi novel, and that was the third short story I got out after Kacey and I did our high fantasy braided shorts. And then right after that, I wrote a heist story braided with Kacey and Haley and Marisa did different kinds of stories to bookend that. But I wrote a heist story that held up the middle section of our braided stories.
Yeah, that was for Phoenix Initiative. Yeah.
So everything I've written so far is right in the middle of thriller genre.
Yeah.
And so, Kacey, do you have a favorite genre or style of writing?
I mean, man, that's like asking what my favorite, which is my favorite kid,
What is your favorite kid, Kacey?
Yeah, let's get that out.
The one that makes me yell at them the least. No, I love both of my kids equally. They're amazing. They're totally different, and they're both forces of nature. Let's just leave it at that. Obviously I love anything having to do with noir, right? I love looking into, you know what? Here it is. Here's the answer. I write what I love, and I write and I love emotionally charged adventure fiction, whether that's a noir buddy cop, examination of the dark side of the city and the universe, whether it's a space opera epic about found families and relationships, whether it is a sword and sorcery romp about growing up and the consequences of our choices on us and on the people in our lives. It doesn't matter, right? What I'm there for is I'm there for the emotional journey of the character and the adventure that they go through. And that's where I'm at.
All right. So let's talk about, we're going to talk about future projects. But before we get there, let's talk about current projects. And since you just touched on it, let's talk about, Kacey, your current series. Kind of give us the elevator pitch on that one, and try to get some people out there go read these books.
Okay. So this is my love letter. This series is my love letter to epic space opera. And this is a story of what will you do to protect your family, regardless of whether or not they're related to you. So first book is The Queen's Fixer. The second book is The King's Daughter. I co-wrote that one with Chris Kennedy. There's space pirates in that one. The third book is The Conqueror's Promise, so the first one's kind of like more of a political intrigue adventure story. Second one is, again, space pirates, also some political intrigue. And then the third book kind of marries them both together. So Chris and I are both super, super proud of these books, and really happy with the response so far. Be. Thank you. You're so kind. Really happy with the response so far, and we just would love for people to, if you like Dune, if you like the original trilogy of Star Wars, if you like that sort of like sweeping of scope of galactic empires and space royalty, if you liked Spaceballs, you will probably really enjoy.
Yeah.
My Schwartz is bigger than yours.
Have you met me? So yeah, go check it out if that's your jam.
All right.
I will
so-
say my review for Queen's Fixer, since you brought up the Dune comparison.
Mm-hmm.
This is if Dune had focused more on the character building and then added in the world building as an effect of what the characters are facing and how they affect their surroundings.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed Queen's Fixer, and I am so excited for the other two.
Thank you.
Especially because I'll tell you, I've read a lot of Kacey's stuff prior to. Part of it is research, right? I had to read all the Debick novels to be able to write a proper companion novel.
Mhm.
But the other part is I've read a lot of her other stuff that isn't published through CKP either. So she is really good at character building, and if that's your jam, pick up Queen's Fixer and definitely follow up with the other two.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And so are there going to be any more books in this series or offshoots or anything like that?
I don't know, Shady. Are there?
What are you asking me for? It's your anthology.
Yes, the answer is yes. There will be. They're coming this summer from Theogony Press, Chris Kennedy Publishing. There will be an Ashes of Antisea anthology featuring stories by me, story by Chris Kennedy, but then also stories from a bunch of different authors to include Shady, including Marisa Wolf, including Melissa Altoff and Nick Steverson. We've got John Osborne has a story, Chris Porteau, just a whole bunch of people. And I'm probably not supposed to say all of the names right now because I haven't, the table of contents hasn't been released. That's supposed to be a big announcement at LibertyCon, so stay tuned for that. Sorry, I was getting a little carried away there. But the stories are so good. And you, like I talked about with the Four Horsemen universe being a sandbox, that's exactly what I want for this series. Is I want to build this like wide sweeping universe with countless stories, and I'm challenging my friends and bringing my friends and writers whose work I admire to come on in and tell the story that you can find here within this universe. So
and
this summer,
spoiler alert,
look for that.
Spoiler alert, my story is drudging out the sandbox a little bit, but also tied into a little bit of things that happen later on. And the first bit of which you get just a small portion of in Queen's Fixer.
Yeah. So some of the stories do call back to the initial trilogy, which I love. That was part of the part of what I wanted. Shady was one of the most of the authors. I was just like, hey, pick a corner, tell me what you want to write. Shady was like, this is what I want you to write. So, one day I'll stop giving you homework, my friend. I promise.
Eventually, she'll learn that I actually have vector and thrust, but instead of giving me vector.
So is that how the pitch went for the companion to Ghostwind? It's like, hey, I want you to write this book. No.
I'll throw that one on Chris. Okay. Chris was like, yeah, Shady's all thrust, no vector. Give him some vector.
Yeah. I may have been like, hey, we're gonna write about this character. I think that's where it started. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I, to be honest, like I've teased it a little bit, and we'll talk about it here in a second. I know you're gonna ask me about it, but I am so glad we got to write this book first.
Me too.
Because that gives us, we'd done a couple short stories together ish. At least two of them are braided, and one of them two of them where she edited, and gave me feedback on. So the next thing that I know you're going to ask me about, and we'll end up plugging, we are probably a lot better off for it, and it's mainly because I got to develop a lot faster. So
yeah,
awesome. Go ahead.
No.
Oh, so future or current projects, Shady, go.
All right. So currently, as Kacey plugged, I have the story with Ashes that will come out maybe late July, August. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, Chris hasn't
I
given me a
have,
release date yet.
yeah, I have another short story planned for this year that's due in January. And so that will come out, I think, based on the timelines that I know. And I'm not going to talk about it too much because it's not entirely a guarantee. But I was asked early on this year at MarsCon this year, so January of this year. So hopefully I'll have that coming out sometime spring next year. But currently I'm writing a Milesian Accords novel,
Yay!
as we
Congratulations.
alluded to with John Osborne. I've got about 6,000, 7,000 words sank into that so far. Granted, I'm real slow. Right, it's only my second novel. I'm real slow. So hopefully I will get the trilogy out. And we announced it at Fantasy, kind of the theme of it, which will revolve around Japanese mythos. The Swords Under Heaven trilogy, working title still. That's to come in the works. There's a possibility I write a novel full length for Kacey's Ashes series. And then the braided stories that we did in Talons and Talismans, the Alliance of Spirits series, that has not been forgotten. We've just been busy. And there's a little bit of gamesmanship to that, where we didn't want to jump right into that without having done something that I can put my name on the map with, because Alliance of Spirits we plan on doing, and we plan on doing well. So if you've read the Talons and Talismans braided shorts, that has a planned kind of overall arc, and she and I are going to sit down and talk about it maybe late fall at the earliest. And that will start into the works, and that's all I can kind of promise at this point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Kacey, any future projects or hopes and wishes or anything that you want to work on in the future?
No projects, no.
Okay.
Of course there's future projects.
I was about to say, did you sit on your hands?
Yeah, I'm done. No, I'm not done. Of course I'm not done.
And I'm out.
Yeah. See ya.
I've done all I can
do. So in addition to so first 3 books in the Ashes Fantasia series just came out. Talked about the anthology this summer. The lovely, talented, and amazing Marisa Wolf and I are looking at getting together Q4 this year to co-write a book set in this universe as well, related to the initial trilogy. So depending on how long that takes us, that will determine whether that will come out at the very end of the year or what is probably more likely early 25. In addition, in the first week in December, I want to say it's December 5th, but I could be off by a day or so, is the release of Romanov Rising, or 1919 Romanov Rising, which is the second book in the Romanov Reign series that I'm co-writing with Tom Kratman and Justin Watson. That's our alternate history look at the Russian Revolution / Russian Civil War. And I'm very excited for that one to come out. That we got the cover on that one, and it is absolutely beautiful. So we get to see, what happens with Empress Tatiana and her forces as they continue to face off against the Bolshevik threat and, the rapidly changing world environment in the wake of the First World War. So doing a reading from that at LibertyCon too. So if you're going to be there for that, look for that. And then in addition to that, I am finishing up a rewrite on a sword and sorcery novel that I don't yet know where it will go. I have hopes and aspirations, but nothing guaranteed, so I won't announce anything. But
it is a good book.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Shady helped me. Shady helped me as one of my beta readers on that one, because I was like, "Hey, man, you're a dude. I kind of need a dude on this one."
You have
Boy,
to
did
go
she.
read this.
No, it's
so,
but hold on.
Okay.
I stayed
right.
up till 4 a.m. last night finishing that book.
Thank
It was-
you.
Yeah, it was good. Solid.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate your feedback. Your feedback was chef's kiss good, exactly what I wanted. So putting the finishing touches on that, going to see where that one's going to find a home. But if you're sneaky and you're interested and you want to get a sneak peek and look at it early, there is a way that you can do that. And that is by joining my Ream subscription. So if you're unfamiliar with Ream is a subscription service. It's kind of like if like Wattpad and Patreon like got it on and had a kid, that would be Ream, right? So it's a direct subscription service where you can sign up to support the author directly. And the way that mine is, I mean, different ones have different structures. The way that mine is set up is basically early access. So I have an early draft of this novel up on my Ream right now for my paid subscribers. So if that's something you're interested in, check out my website. You can find more information. So
What's it tentatively called, Kacey?
the working title is Mage Light.
Awesome.
So yeah.
All right. Well, I could talk to you guys all night, but we have to be mindful of people's attention spans. So, Kacey, since you've already kind of started plugging stuff, plug everything you want to plug and tell people where they can find you. Don't make it dirty.
I wasn't even going to.
You started giggling. And
She wanted to plug stuff where she wanted to plug stuff. Let her be.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've said this like 8 times, but please check out Ashes of Fantasy. I think you'll love it. And that's available now on Amazon, or you can go to my website, www.kaceyezell.net or .com, to find information about that series and where you can get your grubby little hands on it. H.Y. Gerger says no kink shaming, Jeremy. No kink shaming.
Fine.
That's right. So yeah, check out the Ashes of Fantasy series. Check out Companion to Ghosts. We'll see you at LibertyCon. See you at DragonCon. And come sign up for my newsletter. And if you really want to hang out with me online, sign up for my newsletter. You can get a link to my private Discord server where I hang out with my friends pretty much every day.
YouTube.
So. Oh yeah, and I have a YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Jeremy. You're amazing. It's Kacey Ezell Writer Life here on YouTube. I actually just put an update up there about my my like planning and notebooks, the notebooks that I use. So you can go check that out. So okay.
And in addition to that, you've seen Kacey on this channel. She is one of the 3 feral ladies.
I am a feral lady.
So check her out on that if you hadn't had enough. And also call back to the Peer Pressure Made Us Do It episode.
Yep.
Part 1 on this channel. There's part 2 on Kacey's channel, or that might be flipped. I forget how it went.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly how it went.
Okay, and then so go check that out, and you can see how Kacey bullies people into writing.
It's really fun because the first half of the episode, like I wasn't invited to, so they just talk about me behind my back, and then they came on my channel, and I got to listen into what they had to say.
It's almost like I did it on purpose.
All right, Shady, it's time for you to plug everything you want to plug.
All right, so the first thing I'm going to plug is actually, and I kind of noted it a little. Sundown has been in the live chat, I think, and he had one of the best reviews of our book, and it is one of the most humbling reviews of our book.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bill.
Yeah, so Sundown, thank you so much for that, and I put it on Facebook too, and responded to him there. And we'd seen him at Fantasy, but I didn't realize like he had done that at that time. So thank you, Sundown. I'm so glad it hit the way we meant it to hit. So cool. Yeah. So the next couple things, thanks, buddy. The next couple things that I have, besides the books that I've already mentioned, so Malignant Accords, that's kind of the next big project I'm working on. There may or may not be an Ashes of Anicia novel. Kacey and I will talk about that at some point. That will come out based on the short story that I've written. Her and I will also talk about Alliance of Spirits at some point, so that's coming up. I have 2 budding podcasts, one with H.Y. Gregor. We got asked by Nick Thacker to do a little bit of if you're a newbie author looking for some author tips on world building. We've got a couple episodes. I say a couple. We got almost 7 or 8 episodes in the can right now.
Nice.
Getting ready to come out in July. And if you want details on that, you'll catch that on my website at davidshadoin.com. And we've had some amazing guests so far. We haven't had Kacey yet, but she is on the docket to come on, as is Marisa and a few others. We will definitely have a lot of people on, and it's not all CKP. We are both very lucky to have a huge network of friends who are authors for several different ways of publishing, and they have gracefully offered their time to teach newbie authors on the cockroaches.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm laughing at Haley's comment.
No, the cockroaches.
You'll just have to watch the podcast to see.
You'll have to watch the podcast to figure out what we're talking about.
Good tease.
The Goka made an appearance.
That's right.
And the best part was we went back and watched that and found out he made an appearance twice, and we didn't know about the first one.
Oh no, gross.
Anyway, so we have that podcast coming out right now titled Worlds Asunder, and we've had a lot of amazing guests on. And then there's another podcast that another CKP author and I have been working on. It hasn't quite been greenlit yet, but it will. So I'm not gonna name names or anything, but we do have an episode in the can so far, and we're planning on recording a couple others to include maybe doing some live reporting from LibertyCon, and that will be tentatively titled "The Shit Authors Do." So
I love it.
Here's the best part about that. I'm changing that name, and my co-host has no idea how many different names I've come up with for that podcast, and he's just hanging on for the ride.
That sounds like flying with you. I'll be honest.
All right. So speaking
but in
of,
a good way.
Yeah. Speaking of podcasts, we just had a Future Books episode drop yesterday or day before yesterday. So go check that one out. Of course, as we mentioned before, we have Feral Ladies, which I'm hoping to get one of those pretty soon from you guys.
Yeah.
And
we've all been on deadline, Jeremy.
I know. And then and I'm doing a call out now. I want to do a post LibertyCon last call. So
that
if
would
anybody's
be so much fun.
Yeah, if anybody's watching, we're not going to do it during because that gets a little crazy. We're going to do it after. So bring your beverage of choice, authors that go. And if you want to be on it, hit me up. I'll also hit you up on Facebook. That's one. That's two. All right. If you haven't gotten enough of me, you can also check me out. I am a guest host on Bane Free Radio Hour from time to time. And so you can catch me there. I've interviewed, my latest interview is David Weber and Jacob Hollow for the Thermopylae Protocol. So go check that out on Bane.com or on their YouTube channel. And of course, no, damn it. No, still the wrong way. Here we go. Go buy the book. The description is the link is in the description. You can also get it on CKP publishing.com. You can get cool stuff like this on the website. All your literary needs. Go check it out. And I say this every episode, and it's very important. If you want to support your favorite authors, like, rate, review on Amazon or anywhere that you can do that, because it really, really helps them out. Sign up for their newsletters so you know, because if you're just trying to catch stuff on Facebook, you're going to miss something. And so if you sign up for their newsletters, you're more likely to get all the information you want, and you get free stuff from time to time. So go check it out. And any last words before we leave?
We're 10 reviews from 100 on Companion to Ghosts.
That's awesome.
So
I'm so excited.
go check it out, please.
And what's a unicorn? Is it 100?
Unicorn's 50. So we're 10 reviews 50. From a double unicorn.
Double unicorn.
Yeah.
All right. All right. You heard it, folks. The call is out. Go buy the book.
If we get a unicorn by LibertyCon, I will post a picture of me and Shady together wearing tiaras at LibertyCon.
Okay. I didn't know where you were going with that.
I'm gonna have to go buy a tiara.
I'll bring you one.
There you go. Perfect. And I'll double make sure that it's in the kilt too, because
nice.
Making it sexy.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
All right. Well, guys, as always, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on. Congratulations on a great book and all your success and future projects. Can't wait to see what's coming out from you guys. And then hopefully y'all will come back on and talk about that stuff when it comes out too.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much, Jeremy.
All right, you're great. And to everyone else now and in the future, we'll catch you next time.